Hey, good morning, guys. It is July 19th. And Chambers is in John 13, which is Jesus has just washed the feet of the disciples, and then he instructs them to do the same. And he says, "Now that I, your Lord and teacher," oh, well, he actually says, sorry, in 13, "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am." And it says, "Now that I'm your Lord, I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet. You should also wash one another's feet. I've set an example for you." Chambers takes this. I gotta say, it's a little weird, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how Chambers is framing this, um, this idea of obedience. And he's talking about Jesus not basically not lording. It sounds like a strange word because he is Lord, but lording over them as a taskmaster, but asks for their obedience, and then Chambers kind of is challenging us to examine what obedience looks like, and he says here that I'll get to the end. The section at the end is just a little bit harder for me to wrap my head around, but when his life has been created in me by his redemption, I instantly recognize his right to absolute authority over me. And he says Jesus never imposes his authority. He doesn't insist on authority. We have to give that. We have to, and so I think it's this. It's back to the idea of humbling ourselves. We have to give the authority which Jesus is due. We have to give it to him. He doesn't insist on it. It is only the unworthy in me, he says, that refuses to bow down to the worthy. So when I am when I'm rejecting God's authority in my life, it's because it's the unworthy part of me that doesn't want to submit to His worthiness. And then this section I thought was good, and then we'll deal with what Chambers is telling us here at the end. But God educates us by means of people who are a little better than we are, which is funny. God educates us because then he talks about washing each other's feet, and basically he's saying, as he says to wash each other's feet, my impressions of that, and because he had, sorry, I get off to a little aside here. I've read this in recent years and thought of this in a way that I'd never thought of it before. He washes his feet. Peter says, "Hey, wash my whole body." He says, "No, no, no. Your whole body is clean. You only need to wash your feet." He does say to, I guess there's Judas. What does he say? I think there's the person. He said there is someone here who, hold up. He says, a person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet, but because his whole body is clean. Not every one of you, he says, you are clean, but not every one of you, for he knew he was talking about Judas. So he's saying to them, you're clean, I just need to wash your feet, but there is one of you that's not clean. And that was obviously a reflection of the fact that Judas was not redeemed. Judas was not submitted, had not submitted his heart to Jesus. And so then when he says it's for us to wash each other's feet, he's actually talking about kind of removing the muck and mire of the world from each other, kind of helping each other out. And so then that translates into this emphasis that Chambers is taking, which is God places people in our lives that are a little bit, he actually says, God educates us by means of people who are a little bit better than we are. People who have humbled themselves in areas of their life where we have not, and have realized the redemptive work of Christ in those areas of our life, and then they're able to point out to us, oh hey, by washing our feet, not literally but figuratively, saying, hey, that's an area of my life that I've learned to humble. Let me help you. Let me wash your feet. Let me get that muck and mire off of you. And he says, better than we are, not intellectually, but, and he makes up a word here which is kind of funny, holily in quotes, until we get under the domination of the Lord himself. And so he says he puts people in our lives who have learned to humble themselves in certain ways that we need to, and so they point out to us, they wash our feet, until one day we realize, or until one day we are under the domination of the Lord himself, and then the whole attitude of the life is one of obedience to him. So anyway, God uses people to help us get to the point where we are completely submitted. He does say at the end, he says, obedience is only possible between equals. And it's the relationship between father and son, not between master and servant. And I don't know, I'll let you guys ponder that and read the end and see what you think about this idea that obedience is only between equals. It's kind of slapped me in the face because I think, wait a second, I'm not equal to Jesus. So if I'm going to be obedient to him, yeah, then what is that saying? Anyway, I'll leave it there. But the foot washing thing, go back and read that again and disagree with me if you want. But I think it's a really interesting metaphor for us caring for each other and washing the world off of each other. You guys have an awesome day.